say something that is like these people skills have an agenda, I don't mean that having abundance, making sales, and making money is negative, because it's not. I'm just suggesting that there's more to it than that. At the same time, someone that I had much regard for handed me a book and said, "Kid, you need to read this." And I couldn't put it down. And if you've never read it, you need to go get it. It's Spirituality 101, in my opinion. Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, The Power of Positive Thinking. It's like not having read Dick and Jane if you haven't read that book. Get it. It's an easy read. It's common sense. It's plain old language, and it's a lot of cross theology in there. Although a lot of it is Christian based because Dr. Peale was so. But I really admired it, and I found something that after I read it, see if this sounds familiar to you. After I read it, I wanted more. More.
Yeah.
Any of you been through that? I'm guessing so, if you have a bookstore here that thrives as it does. And one thing led to another, and I connected with Wayne Dyer in a big way. And Wayne's books really spoke to me because he has a style that's very similar to mine in terms of just kind of writing in very, very plain, relatable English. And I really enjoyed Wayne's books. There's a little kind of side story here. There always is, for some of these offshoots. And often Laurie's in front of her going, "Oh yeah, thanks." But there was a time where I decided I not only wanted to meet Wayne, but I wanted to work with Wayne. Kind of the way I announced exactly when my book would come out. And so Wayne was coming to Cape Cod in about a month. I got this notice in the mail that he was doing this workshop out of Cape Cod. So I called the number on the postcard, and I got the promoter, and I said, "Hey, I'm a singer-songwriter, and I want to do music before Wayne comes out." "Who are you? What are your credentials?" "Oh, I don't have anybody, and I'm nobody. But I'd like to come over for Wayne Dyer. Is that okay?" "No." But I wrote this great song based on Wayne's book, Real Magic, and he needs to hear it. Well, let me think about this. I don't know. I'll call you tomorrow. I hung up. My friend Rick Schoening, who was my songwriting partner at the time, said, "What did you tell her that for?" Because we actually hadn't written that song. I said, "Well, we work well under pressure. So trust me, we'll get a song out of the deal." Oh, he was doing a lot of this when we were. So she called the next day. She said, "I don't know what's come over me, but I feel like you should be here and you should open for Wayne Dyer."
Wow.
And so we did. And Wayne was very complimentary. And Wayne and Maya, his assistant, and Rick and I hung out after the workshop and just stayed up late, sharing stories and doing this kind of stuff. So the next morning, the promoter comes to me in a panic. "Oh, you've already done so much, and it was so great yesterday, but I hate to impose." I'm like, okay, what? "Oh, if there were anybody else I could ask, I swear I would. I don't want to go." Point! She says, could you possibly drive Wayne to the airport? You think? So I got my ratty old van full of pianos and junk, and Wayne Dyer's in my front seat. And the first thing he bangs on my dashboard and goes, "Come on, move this pig. We gotta get going." And I'm just looking like, Wayne Dyer's in my front seat. I thought all that was pretty cool for a guy who wasn't supposed to be doing this for a living. Guy who was told he couldn't. Here's the problem. There's a lot of talk about going within, listening to your inner voice. It's good stuff. Now, I'm going to relate my experience of listening to the inner voice / voices voices. Your experience may be very different than mine. But I'm guessing some of you may have some similar experiences. So you take or leave what I have to say and see how it applies to your life. I said to myself, I'm going to write this book. And then I was quiet and I heard, who are you to write a book? You're not a doctor. You're not a reverend. You dropped out of college. You don't have a degree. Can't make it music because you don't read music, remember? Still got that going on. From 16. I can't make a living. I guess I should give it all back. Not coming. And those are the voices that were talking to me. But instead of, who am I to write a book? I started to pose, who would I be to not write the book that God has been urging me to write? I started developing talks and workshops and things over these past few years about people skills, but spiritual people skills. Ways that we can be of service to each other and make each other comfortable with how we're interacting. How to listen more, because boy, did I stink at that. When I would be in a conversation, I got to tell you, I was the worst. The worst. I was just so self-absorbed and focused on what I needed to do and where I needed to go that I'd get into a conversation with someone and all I would hear was Charlie Brown's teacher. You know, and I'd be thinking, come on, we got to get back to talking about me. I developed an entire workshop just on shutting up, shutting down the self-centered stuff that keeps bringing us back to ourselves and inviting the people that you're with to tell more about themselves, to elicit reactions and conversation that you would have the opportunity to get to know someone and get to know someone's heart. And I found that people were looking for this and people wanted this. But I kept going back to these voices of doubt. Okay? I would say I'm going to write now from 6 a.m. until 10 a.m. and I don't want to be disturbed. And family and friends would honor that, and I'd have internet shut down so I couldn't hear the ding of emails, and I'd just be focused. The number one interrupting voice I heard was, whom?
You.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. This isn't good enough. This doesn't make sense. I don't think I'm going to like this. I don't know how anybody wants to buy this book. Maybe I should just go get a job selling organs and pianos again. You know, all these things. So I invite you to think about how this applies to your own life and to your own goals, whether they're dreams of the future or their current circumstances or situations. How many times do these chattery voices drag you down? Okay? The little girl who wanted to be a ballerina and was told when she was 6 that she was too heavy. Ballerinas are little tiny things. And she carried that. For the next 70 years, she carried that. How many little boys wanted to play basketball or baseball or whatever? All of a sudden, you can't hit the broadside of a barn with a baseball. Gets planted, gets deeply rooted there. And they might be well-meaning jokes. My dad was a real prankster and a very funny guy. Sometimes his sense of humor was a little inflicting with things that, oh, you dummy, oh, you know, that's crazy. Those little words weren't little at all. We all have them. Well-meaning, loving parents take every little thing. And those of you with kids know, you say 100 things, they'll remember the one negative, the one thing you did wrong, especially if you have teenagers. Right? It is what it is. You have teachers did or said something that just really hit home with you, and they might not have meant anything by it, but it was misconstrued. Wayne Dyer was sent home. All upset from school, he told his mother that the teacher called him a scurvy elephant. A scurvy elephant. And the mother's outraged. Just, that's ridiculous. Why would she say such a thing? In front of all the other kids? Yeah! So she called, yeah, I want to come talk to you. So she marched down to the school, and the teacher started laughing. What is funny about this? She said, I told Wayne he was a disturbing element. A disturbing element. Poor little kid thought all those years he was a scurvy elephant. What if he hadn't told anyone? Love that story. That made my whole ride, actually. I think if you're like most people, these little voices are relatable. You probably understand it. Here's the point. You've got to get to that place where you get through the layer of chatter. Those memories, whether it's mom or a sibling or a teacher or a reverend or somebody that had some influence on, some impact on you, that did something they didn't mean to do, and said something that would suggest that you are less than you are, and get past that and move to the voice of truth. And the voice of truth says you are a beloved child of God, and you are here to do absolutely extraordinary things.
Amen.
Amen indeed.
That's right. That's right.
Now, is there some common sense practicality in all this? For example, if I, for some crazy reason, had it in my head that I ought to be an NBA player, I got news for you. First of all, I would fall over the ball about 2 steps away. I know it. I get it. It's actually pretty humorous. My basketball skills are up there with my breakdancing. Not quite as good, but really close. Okay? But what if really and truly basketball was in my heart? I want to be a basketball player. If I wanted that badly enough, don't you think God would have led me down a path that made basketball part of my life in such a way that it fed that place in me?
Yes.
Maybe I would be a coach for a little boy's team and really make a world of difference in somebody's life. Let's look at my own life. I wanted to be Billy Joel. I'm not. But I make a really nice living doing music, doing entertainment. Now I'm working in a spiritual quest here.